Identity in the digital age is kind of, well, elusive, Pete. You can prompt an AI to generate a beautiful, striking face once. But maintaining that specific soul across time, across different angles and lighting, that has always been the hardest puzzle to solve.
Oh, it really is. I mean, there's nothing more frustrating than dialing in this brilliant AI actor and then suddenly they change their entire bone structure in the very next frame.
Right.
You ask them to look left and their jawline completely morphs. It it drives creators crazy.
It really does. Welcome to the Deep Dive, everyone. We are so glad you're here with us. Today, we're exploring a massive new beta update. It's called Google Flow.
Yeah, highly anticipated.
Definitely. And we're looking specifically at its characters, voice profiles, and personal avatars. So if you're listening to this, whether you're a solo creator, building a brand, or just endlessly curious about the mechanics of AI, this is your shortcut to understanding the depth of prompt drift.
It's a fundamental shift, really, in how we interact with these models. We're finally moving away from the random slot machine of AI generation. We're moving toward genuine, locked-in consistency.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we talk about the outputs, we really need to understand the architecture. Flow isn't just a standalone image generator, right? It connects directly to Google Gemini.
Exactly. And that underlying connection is the core of everything. When you type a vague idea into Flow, you aren't actually talking directly to the image generator. Gemini acts as this intermediate director. It processes your plain English. Then it writes highly technical, hyper-detailed prompt matrices for the image models to actually render.
And that structural setup solves the biggest problem in AI video right now. Amnesia.
Yes, total amnesia.
Previously, the AI literally forgot who your character was the moment the frame ended. It was like recasting an entirely new actor for every single camera angle. But Flow acts like an ironclad contract for one specific digital actor. This is obviously huge for UGC.
Right.
And by that, I mean videos made by regular people to promote products online.
Oh, massive. Think about the broader landscape for a moment. I mean, Runway is already famous in the industry for performance capture, taking an existing video and stylizing it.
Yeah, that's everywhere right now.
And Sora showed off those sweeping cinematic clips with some reusable characters. But Flow is doing something structurally different. It brings the face, the voice, and the personal avatar system into one completely unified workflow.
It is worth noting, though, this is a premium beta feature. You do need a Gemini Advanced subscription to access it. And it's currently rolling out geographically, so, not everyone has it today.
True.
But I want to push on something here. Why is this specifically a game changer for solo creators versus massive studios?
Well, it really comes down to scale and resources. Massive studios have entire animation budgets. They have whole departments of technical directors completely dedicated to tracking facial geometry and keeping a character consistent frame by frame. A solo creator simply doesn't have the time or the compute power to manually fix a warping jawline in post-production.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Flow solves this lack of consistency natively. You don't need a Pixar-level budget to keep your digital actor looking the exact same across 100 different videos.
So it essentially gives one person a full, consistent digital acting troupe.
Precisely. It democratizes a level of continuity that used to cost millions.
Okay, so we understand the fundamental problem this solves. But building a consistent digital human means you need a solid foundation. You have to sculpt them. And Flow gives you 3 distinct methods to create a character's physical appearance.
Yeah. The first is using templates. This is mostly for rapid prototyping. You select a broad archetype like the eccentric. The system automatically generates the underlying prompt matrix. You have very little control here, but it gets a face on the screen immediately.
Which brings us to the second method, where the real power lies. Writing text prompts. This gives you absolute control over the generation.
It does.
And when you do this, you actually have to choose between 2 specific rendering models. You have Nano Banana Pro, which is hyper-realistic. It handles complex lighting and skin textures perfectly. Then there is Nano Banana 2.
Right, and Nano Banana 2 is much faster to run, but it fundamentally leans toward stylized, illustrative, or artistic aesthetics.
Oh,
the way it interprets a text prompt prioritizes broad, creative strokes over, microscopic pores.
Makes sense. And the third method is uploading an image directly. You provide a portrait, and the model maps the face as your baseline. But there's a very strict referencing rule here, isn't there?
Oh, incredibly strict. You must establish one clean face image first, No complex backgrounds, no crazy lighting.
Right.
If the age or the expression feels even slightly wrong, you have to use the what you want to change interface to correct it. You absolutely do not move forward if the baseline is wrong.
Beat. I have to admit, I still wrestle with prompt drift myself. Just the other day, I had this great character. I added a coffee cup to the scene, and suddenly my character aged 20 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is a classic latent space problem. The model associates the concept of a coffee cup with the training data it learned from.
Huh.
Often, images of people holding coffee cups in stock photos are older professionals reading morning papers. So the model accidentally pulls those older demographic features into your character's face.
That makes total sense. The prop actually contaminates the facial data.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is the system's strict limit on reference images to combat that exact contamination. Once your main face is perfect, you are allowed to add a second reference set for side and back views. You keep the clothing prompts incredibly basic, like navy sweater, but the hard limit is exactly one main reference and one extra set of alternative angles.
It's so tempting to just dump 20 photos of a character in the system, assuming more data makes the AI smarter. But you can't. What happens if you try to force 10 reference images to make it smarter?
The model architecture just isn't built to blend that many distinct 2D inputs into a cohesive 3D map.
Oh, I see.
If you overwhelm it with conflicting visual data, different lighting, slight changes in focal length, the model's attention mechanism gets confused about which core features to prioritize. It actually dilutes the facial identity instead of reinforcing it.
Less is more. Feeding it too many images actually breaks the system.
Exactly. It forces you to rely on mathematical precision rather than visual volume.
But having a pixel-perfect face is completely useless for a video series if the illusion shatters the second they speak. That brings us to the audio engine.
Yeah, this is where Google has instituted a very strict audio rule. You cannot upload an outside audio file to clone a voice. The entire vocal identity must be generated inside Flow's native ecosystem.
You can select the built-in voice template to start. Or you can use that template as a base to engineer a custom voice. Customization requires three things: a name, a description, and sample dialogue. But the description isn't just about accents, is it?
No, not at all. You have to define the acoustic parameters. You must explicitly detail the emotion, the pitch, and the speed.
Wow.
The system needs those behavioral cues to map the audio wave. For instance, you might input sad, low-pitched, fast-paced. Then you provide a sample script so the engine can render a preview.
Imagine the pressure for a creator in this moment. You have to listen to that preview and get it absolutely perfect before locking it in, because there's a massive limitation here.
Yeah, there is.
Once you click Add to Character, that voice profile is permanently fused to the actor. You cannot go back and tweak the pitch. You cannot edit it. You can only delete the entire voice and start over.
It seems rigid, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, it makes perfect sense. Google is actively preventing the injection of deepfake audio. By restricting outside MP3 uploads, they stop you from cloning a real politician or celebrity. You're forced to use their internal text-to-speech tools, which keeps the whole process inside a secure, monitored environment.
But practically speaking, if I notice the voice is slightly too fast after saving, what's my move?
You have absolutely no edit button. You must delete that specific profile entirely from the character sheet, open a brand new custom voice matrix, rewrite your speed parameters, and render it from scratch.
You have to scrap it entirely and build a brand new voice profile.
Exactly. It forces creators to be incredibly intentional before finalizing a digital identity.
Let's take a quick break. Mid-roll sponsor read.
Okay, we're back. We have a face and we have a voice. They are locked. Now we move to the most powerful, yet probably the most misunderstood feature of this entire update, the digital soul.
Yes, the character info box. This is where users consistently make a massive mistake.
Yeah, they assume it's another prompt box, so they start typing physical descriptions. Brown hair, blue eyes. You should absolutely not do that. The image model already knows what the character looks like.
Here's where it gets really interesting. You treat this text box like giving a real Hollywood actor a psychological motivation sheet.
Exactly.
You aren't typing visuals. You are typing behavioral structures, quirks, mannerisms, speaking behavior, their emotional baseline.
You define how they exist in a space. You type calm mentor. You describe that they speak with deliberate pauses, that they smile gently, and that they naturally use open hand gestures when explaining things.
Or conversely, you might build a sarcastic creator who constantly smirks, breaks eye contact, and rolls their eyes.
Right. And the flow agent processes this psychological data in three very specific ways. First is behavior inheritance. If you put smiles gently in that box, you never have to type smile gently into your daily video prompts ever again. The character just naturally defaults to it.
The second mechanism is generation guidance. The AI acts as a shadow director. It actively guides the video rendering model to ensure the microexpressions match that saved emotional baseline. A sarcastic character will naturally carry tension in their jaw, even when silent.
Which is incredible. And the third way is dialogue consistency. The pacing of their custom voice automatically adjusts to match that mood.
Does this mean the AI automatically controls body language during a video?
Yes, it really does. The flow agent reads the personality vectors before it renders a single frame. It literally translates text traits like speaking with clear authority into the actual posture, the physical micromovements, and the spatial awareness of the character on screen.
Right. It directs the character's acting based purely on that psychological text box.
It bridges the gap between an animated puppet and a true digital human.
So the actor is fully prepped. The face, voice, and soul are integrated. How do we actually call them to set and start shooting? Flow uses a remarkably simple trigger system. You just type the @ symbol followed by their name, like @John.
And that single tag acts as an entire data package. It instantly pulls the facial map, the audio profile, and the psychological behaviors straight into your active prompt.
Whoa. Imagine scaling an entire multi-platform video campaign with just one @ symbol. You don't have to rewrite 50 lines of character description for every TikTok or YouTube short.
It's a huge time saver.
Beat. It is best practice, though, to test this in a static image first. You might type @John sitting in a coffee shop. You can change outfits, lighting, and scenes endlessly while the core identity stays totally locked.
And when you're ready to transition to motion, the syntax is very specific. In the main generation box, you type the @character name, followed by a physical action, followed by the actual spoken script inside quotation marks.
But as you scale this, you might suddenly run into a violate our policies era. This is the safety system kicking in, right? Because Flow is constantly scanning outputs for real internet faces.
Yeah, the security filter is exceptionally strict. It is specifically engineered to stop deepfakes at the generation level.
Just to define that clearly, a deepfake is AI-generated media that digitally replaces a real person's likeness.
Right. And the system is scanning biometric ratios. Even if your prompt is completely innocent, the filter will permanently block the video if your digital actor's bone structure mathematically aligns too closely with a real photograph scraped from the internet.
There are two ways around this. Option one is what the platform highly recommends. You just use a pure AI face from the start. Let Flow generate a completely original face from a text prompt. The system auto-approves it down the line because it has the digital provenance, proving it is a virtual human.
Option 2 is trickier. It's for when you use your own real picture as the baseline. The system will likely flag it.
Right.
When it does, you have to click the flag icon on the error message. You explicitly state that it's an AI character based on your own likeness, and then you wait for manual review by their technical team.
But hold on, if I generated the character myself entirely inside their system, why does it still flag my character?
Because the automated scanners are dealing with finite mathematical probabilities. They can't always distinguish between a highly realistic generated face and a copyrighted photograph of a stranger.
Oh, I see.
If the lighting, the texture, and the geometry cross a certain threshold of realism, the system triggers a false positive just to be safe.
The safety filter panics if your creation looks slightly too human or familiar.
Exactly. It's forced to err on the side of extreme caution to protect real people.
Up until now, we've been building virtual people from scratch. But what if you want to bypass the creation phase entirely? What if you want to digitize your actual self?
Well, Flow has introduced a beta AI avatar feature to do exactly this.
And this is where the hardware requirement becomes fascinating. To build a true avatar, Gemini doesn't just need a flat photo, it needs spatial data.
Yeah, it scans your real facial geometry, it analyzes your natural microexpressions, the asymmetry of your mouth when you talk, and your baseline speaking rhythm.
Because it needs that rich data, the setup is strictly mobile. You cannot do this with a standard desktop webcam. You have to use the Gemini app on your phone.
Right.
You log in, tap your profile, and select Avatar New. You have to agree to extensive microphone and camera terms. Then you hold your phone perfectly at eye level.
And you read a short, specific script on the screen out loud. This calibrates the phonetic tracking.
Oh, wow.
It records how your specific vocal cords handle different vowel sounds. After the mobile app processes that heavy data, you switch back to your desktop and check the fully rendered avatar in the Flow workspace.
It is still clearly in beta, so there are technical limitations. It struggles heavily with fast lip movements. The rendering can miss very small, nuanced micro-expressions. But honestly, the privacy rules surrounding this feature are just as interesting as the tech.
This raises an important question about the ownership of digital identity. Google has engineered this to be completely account-locked. No one else on the platform can search for, access, or utilize your avatar template. And they've implemented a strict, non-transferable protocol.
But what if I want to edit a video in Premiere? Can I export my digital twin to use in another editing software?
Absolutely not. You cannot download the underlying 3D mesh. You cannot transfer the raw avatar profile to any outside project, game engine, or third-party workspace.
Right.
The generation capability is entirely geofenced within your specific Google login.
No exporting allowed. Your digital clone is locked inside your private Google account.
It operates as a highly secure walled garden to prevent your identity from being hijacked.
So let's bring this all together.
Google Flow fundamentally changes the medium.
Yeah.
It isn't just an image generator anymore. It is a completely unified production studio. It turns AI from a random, unpredictable slot machine of faces into a predictable, directable camera.
Yeah, it really does.
Now, we have to stay grounded. It is not flawless yet. The commercial rights regarding generated likenesses are still murky legal territory. There are plenty of beta bugs. But for a solo creator trying to build a narrative universe, this is a massive leap forward. It saves hundreds of hours of manual prompting and post-production corrections.
So what does this all mean? First of all, thank you for taking this deep dive with us. If you do have access to the beta, you really should go test that at Symbol Function. Seeing an entire character, voice, and personality summon instantly changes how you think about workflow.
That's pretty wild.
But stepping back, it leaves us with something much deeper to think about. If we can now hard code our specific quirks, our mannerisms, and our exact vocal cadences into a digital twin that never gets tired, that never ages, that never forgets its lines, what happens to the concept of authenticity? What happens when our audiences can no longer tell if it's really us talking to them or just our very well-documented ghost in the machine? 2 sec silence. Until next time, keep exploring.